All right, folks, welcome to the stream. Today I'm sitting in my office and I've been thinking about ways to kind of like wrap up 2024, right, in a way that kind of makes sense for the channel, right? I mean, I have my Twitch stats, I have my YouTube stats, and like all the games and content and whatnot, but at the end of the day, what really matters is the games that came out of the year, right? So I'm gonna try to have some fun with the I've created a tier maker, right? So this is the first time I kind of like fiddle around with this, right? So a tier maker is basically you add a bunch of data to it and you can kind of put them in different brackets, right? And these are the games that are kind of that have some sort of they came out in 2024, you can buy them in 2024 sort of thing, right? And some of these titles are quite niche, but they're games that I actually have played, right? And the only game that I haven't played, to be completely fair and square here, is Looney Tunes, right? So, and that's why I have this like grayed out kind of X here, because I have not played Looney Tunes and I don't have anything to say about it. I have played the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so we're going to talk about that, right? And at the end of the day, like there were like I think there's like 14 games here, right? And if you want to make your own tier maker and kind of share it with the world, whatever, and have your own opinions, just scan the QR code and have at it and post on social media, whatnot, right? I mean, I'm not getting like any credit or anything for this. It's just like I just thought it would be a fun thing to kind of wrap up 2024 with, right? So at the end of the day, I kind of want to start at the bottom, but at the end of the day, you kind of know as we kind of go along, like who's going to end up on the like S tier, who's the super tier game, right? And at the end of the day, I can reveal right now, I actually have 2 titles on the S tier, and I qualify the S tier as these are games that I would actually buy if I had the opportunity to do so, right? And at the end of the day, my garage is full. I can't sell a single game. Now Venom is up for sale. Mando is also going out now for putting up an ad here in the coming weeks, just to make room, right? Just to get some new stuff in here. But let's start at the absolute bottom. The absolute trash title of the year is the Funhouse remake. Oh my god, it's the worst game I've ever played in my entire life. I know that the games that they brought to Golden State, they were kind of like early production and whatnot, but Jesus Christ, what a brick fest, what a ball stuck here and there, balls rejected. And like, I mean, if you played a real Funhouse, right, it's not the same game, right? And I know I played it with the new rules, whatever. I don't care. I mean, the shots it was just a dog, absolute dog, right? And the new artwork is just so hideous. I don't know where to put myself, right? So that is the only shit tier. That's the only D tier game I have, actually. The rest are kind of like a little bit in the higher ups, right? So if we kind of start with the oddballs here, like, so Space Hunt is a pretty, I have some gameplay on the channel, right? And that was kind of like a bit of a pleasant surprise in a way that, like, where did this game come from, right? And like, it had a pumping soundtrack, the mix wasn't very good with the sounds and such, and it had some weird shots going on for it, and I think that could be improved with code, right? I don't know if I would put it in a B or C. And at the end of the day, it was a pleasant surprise, right? But if we kind of compare pleasant surprises, I kind of want to drag Ninja Eclipse into the conversation, right? Because nobody saw that one coming, right? And at the end of the day, like, coming from a small company, very limited run games, and it played and shot like perfect. It was like butter, right? And it looks beautiful. Like, I kind of like the anime kind of style artwork. I don't know if it's anime, but it's like very well done for the kind of theme it is, right? And also like the nod to Doctor Who there with the multiplier side ramp is just like, that is just shot like Aimer, what do you call him, the little angel with the bow, Amor or something, Amor's arrows, like straight into my heart, right? It's just like, yep. That this is a good game, right? And I don't know, like, both of these are sort of like the lower tier of things, but at the end of the day, there were fun games. They're fun games to play, right? And a little oddballs, and I kind of like oddballs, right? Princess Bride, I sort of like, it's a multimorphic game, and at the end of the day, I don't really put multimorphic sort of in the bracket of like it being like a pinball machine to even begin with, right? And the thing is that the thick weird buttons and separate buttons for like upper flippers and whatnot, right, and the big display and such. But at the end of the day, the platform kind of has potential. But I mean, at the end of the day, like Princess Bride is not really my theme. But at the end of the day, from a multimorphic perspective, it was definitely one of the better games I've played, right? And it doesn't compare with the Final Resistance, of course, which is absolutely pumping, right? But then again, yeah, I haven't played the platform enough to kind of have an opinion on it, but I mean, I just have like I have issues classifying it as pinball, basically. That's where I kind of where I'm coming from, with the weird flippers and everything that kind of goes on in it in general, right? What else can we kind of pull from our hat here? And another kind of like pleasant surprise, I guess, is like I played TCM, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, at the expo for the first time, right? And I was like very like, oh, spooky's back, right? Because the game shot like super smooth, and it was like good call outs, like, and the multi-ball was pretty fun as well, and the one in the center where you kind of shoot the door, and the game kind of felt very compact, but still you had like plenty of stuff to shoot for, and it was like buttery smooth, right? It didn't feel like I mean, Scooby-Doo was sort of like, all right, so I mean, there was the downhill, right? So you had Halloween and Ultraman that was just like complete dog shit, and then Scooby-Doo came out and it was just straight off a cliff, right? And then like TCM comes out, right, and it's TCM and Looney Tunes, and it just feels like they're back on the map again, back in the game, right? Because I mean I love my TNA. Rick and Morty is one of the best games ever made, right? And it just feels like what is what's going on here? So and also looking at like Evil Dead, they had like a very good like, I don't know how many people actually played it, but it had really like good reception on. And so far, from what I've seen, a lot of people within my spheres kind of bought one and stuff like that. And yeah, welcome to the chat, Random Person 3K. We're kind of talking about. I'm doing a tier maker for games that came out in 2024, and we're sort of almost on the halfway mark here, and I'm kind of talking through the different games and such, right? So I hope you're good as well. Yes, and let's yeah. So that was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Very pleasant surprise. I kind of like the splattery artwork. It kind of looks very similar to The Walking Dead, with the kind of like dialing it to 11. Very bloody, very well done animations and stuff. I didn't get really into the rules, but I think it definitely. It's definitely not an A tier, but it's definitely not a C tier either, right? Let's see here. What else can we kind of throw in the hat here? Do we want to kind of talk about an A game here? An A game for from Stern here. Let's just talk about Jaws, right? Jaws is definitely like an A tier game, right? And I'm not gonna kind of I haven't bucketized them like Pro, Premium, LE, or whatever. I'm just going to talk about them generally, right? So like Jaws, like full disclosure, like I personally think the Pro version is the absolute best version of the games, right? The only thing that I'm missing on the Pro is the drop target bank. If the Pro would have had a drop target bank, it would be the perfect Jaws game, right? Absolute perfect. Because I like how the Pro feels like it's like street level. It's it's almost like a little bit like Black Knight, you know, where it's like really flat and it's like really, it almost feels like street level. And I know there's like multiple ramps, there's like 3 ramps or whatever, right? But everything just feels so flat and it just feels so fast and it just feels so classical. And I love that, like the harpoon feeding ramp and like I mean everything is so smooth, like, you know, and because sure the upper play field on the premium is kind of neat, kind of like the one shot thing there. I appreciate that, but it's yeah, it just it kind of ruins the street level feel that I love with the Pro, right? And it's a super fun game. It's a little bit about wood chopping game, I'd say, but at the end of the day, it's definitely an A-tier game from last year. Yeah, this Tiermaker is only for 2024, right? So the games that were produced and released that you can actually buy in 2024, right? And I don't know if we want to kind of talk about Pulp Fiction a little bit. I'm not like... Sort of like I know this is a all street level game and it's like very cool. It's kind of Pulp Fiction. It kind of nails that kind of diner era type very well, and kind of brings a lot of modern twists. A lot of modern twists on it with like multiple different multi-balls and like the modes are like really valuable, but at the end of the day, it's just like I don't quite like how they set up the rule set on it. It's a little bit like, oh, you're gonna have to play the modes, otherwise you can't, or the scenes, right? Otherwise, there's no point in playing the game at all, right? And those like inner orbit shots on both sides. You have the 3 drops on the left side, and you have the single drop in kind of like the start scene thing, and that's they're very hard, right? And if you don't play like a game where you can confidently kind of backhand those shots, the game becomes very unfun and very hard, right? And it's not. Yeah, and that kind of what makes it a B tier game. At the end of the day, like if I spend more time on Pulp Fiction, it would be an A tier game. I'm sure, but the Pulp Fictions that we've playing around here, where you get like, you don't get a minute of ball time, right? No ball save and lightning flippers and all that good stuff, right? And steep as hell, and it's just, you don't get to see like 5% of the content of the game, which is a little bit sad, but that's just like my impressions, right? So and at the end of the day, that's the whole point with a Tiermaker, right? It's just whatever my impressions of these games have been throughout the year, right? This is just opinions, right? They don't form any buying decisions on whatever I'm saying here. So we have X-Men there. Yeah, I have X-Men on the list here. We can drop another Stern in there for sure. Like this is definitely an A tier game for sure. Like I had the X-Men Premium for a couple of weeks here in my garage, right? And I played it at Lynn's a couple of times, right? And the thing is, like, there are so many good things to talk about around X-Men, right? I have a really lengthy review of X-Men on my channel, where I talk about the non-Italian bottom half, like, and the asymmetry of the whole game, right? And how much I love the fact that we're bringing back all these old school elements. It's basically the bottom half of a bottom third of a Goldwing that has been brought to life with modern components, right? And all the geometry on X-Men, like if that game is just set up perfectly and everything kind of shoots as it should, it's just like every shot is just feels so good. Like every single shot is just like, there's not a single shot on that game, if you make it cleanly, that feels like a dog, right? Everything is just like mwah, perfect, right? And that's what make it definitely an A tier game, right? But I wouldn't buy it because I don't like the theme, right? And at the end, if this was any other theme, right? And we can talk about the Foo Fighters, like I can do an hour on Foo Fighters, like how great of a game that is, right? But the theme is just like I'm not there with it, right? I can't, like, it's just completely ice cold, right? And X-Men and Marvel and all those things, it's just like, well, yeah, I didn't really grow up with it, right? It wasn't. American comics wasn't really that big of a thing like in Sweden where I grew up, right? I read Superman and Spider-Man. Those are my kind of my superheroes from that time, right? But at the end of the day, it's definitely an A-tier game, right? I mean, I can't express it enough, right? What else do we have here? We have a Metallica. This is just like, I kind of want like, I'm not a big Metallica player, so I'm not quite sure like where to drop this. It's just like, the game is absolutely gorgeous if you turn off the general illumination on it, because the whole kind of red, white, and blue thing is not really resonating with me, right? I've tried to kind of get into Metallica, kind of try to like it, but it's just like this, like bog standard kind of fan layout, and it's basically like, I mean, I'd rather have a Guardians of the Galaxy, like hands down, like there's no doubt about it. It's just like any day of the week, Guardians of the Galaxy instead of Metallica, right? And Guardians even have better music. Right, so that's for Metallica, right? And we also have Barry O's Barbecue here. And at the end of the day, like, it's an American game. And at the end of the day, I'm a vegetarian, so I love barbecue, but not, I mean, it's just like, there's just steaks and meats everywhere. I kind of like the concept of mixing sauces and hot rods and flames and all that. It's really good, right? I mean, it should probably be a B-tier game, to be honest. It's not, nah. Yeah, it is B. Yeah, I'm going to put it on the B tier for now. Yeah, it is definitely, because now at the end of the day, it's just, I would say it's definitely a S tier game looking at American Pinball, right? I mean, all their games is a little bit sluggish and doggish, right? But I think that Barry Ode, I think they kind of tried something. Yeah, it's not like really that different, but I kind of like the fact that you kind of have your kind of your sauce locks and the spinners on the ramp and all that. And at the end of the day, I don't know the rules very well on it to say much about it. I played it as I show, and I mean it was, flippers were kind of sluggish and weak and all that. So it's definitely a game I want to spend more time on, but I cannot form a better opinion on it right now than it's a B tier. So what else do we have here? Let's start with the interesting things here, right? So John Wick, that is my Stern super tier game for 2024, right? Because this, I played it a ton at Lynn's at this point, right? And I played it at the Flipper Room, and I played it a little bit here and there. And at the end of the day, sure, the rules are kind of grindy and stuff like that, but oh my god, the shots are so buttery smooth, right? And the game also has a lot of lessons to teach, and that I appreciate more than anything, right? Because if you want to score on this game and you cannot play multi-ball, forget about it, right? It's just like you need to get a job in, you need to get a multi-ball in, and you need to nail the multi-ball mode, and you need to nail the mode, complete the mode, get deep in the mode, and deepen in multi-ball, right? And once that's done, you have to do it all over again, right? So is that like, but then you get a different job and you go for a different multi-ball, right? And I think that there's a lot of variation when you kind of, you have, I think there's 8 or 9 different jobs, right? And there's 3 different multi-balls, right? And you can kind of mix and match these, so you get a lot of uniqueness out of that, right? And you also have the lights out or blackout mode that they recently added, which is a really I really like that kind of element of the game, where you kind of turn the lights off and it's a great pinball moment, right, where the game kind of changes its shape, and you can't see anything, and then you can kind of spell Yaga on the in lanes, and you can then get kind of light up shots with the button again, and it kind of rings a doorbell, and it's really fun. It's just very well executed, right? And I really like that about it, right? And at the end of the day, what I said in the beginning of the stream, I would buy this game, right? I mean, I would, right? The thing is, I don't have any room, right? But I'm so on the fence on getting a John Wick, right, to play and kind of grow with, and try to be a better player, right, because it has a lot to offer from that perspective, right, because it's not an easy game, right, at all, right, and I think it's kind of like a little bit neglected for coming out in between Jaws and X-Men, but at the end of the day, it's that's my super tier game from Stern. We also had some fun with the Swedes playing Abba, and the thing is, like, I'm gonna put this as an A tier game, and I'm gonna explain why I put it as an A tier game, right? And a lot of people, they don't see this game for what it is, and that I give them credit for what it is, right? So this game, so Abba is built like a 90s Bally Williams game with people that grew up playing nothing but 90s Bally Williams game, and that's why it looks a little bit barren, a bit thin. It's a bit loosey-goosey on the rules and the call-outs and some of this stuff, right? But at the end of the day, if you can kind of like, if you don't compare this to a Stern or a New Jersey Jack game, because it's not, right? It's absolutely not, right? And I'm also giving these folks some leeway that this is their first game that they designed from scratch without influence from Hayway or anyone else, right? So this is their first game, and I think it's fantastic, right? I mean, it shoots really good. It has some you can learn it pretty quickly. There's some simple kind of low-hanging fruit to kind of get things going. Sure, it's not like it doesn't have a lot of like fancy mechs. Like, it has like basically the helicopter and that's it, right? And the rest is just like vanilla ramps, orbits, bucks, and like saucers, and then that's it, right? And some stand-ups and drop targets, and obviously the 2 ramps, right? But there's an element to the game as well that I kind of appreciated after somebody actually explained it to me, and that is that it's both a music pin and a fantasy pin, right? Because it's built on this character, because the whole game is kind of surrounds this musical where the band were basically holograms at this Broadway show or something in the UK. I can't remember exactly the background from it, right? But and that artist, like all that artist's artwork is in the game. It's on the animation. You kind of collect 4 different kind of four different pieces of medallion, so that kind of represents the band, and that kind of starts like the last wizard mode kind of thing, right? So it's really well composed in that sense, right? And I think there's a lot of thought behind this game that doesn't really come through that well when you find this on a show floor somewhere where it hasn't been set up properly, and it just plays like shit basically. And that's also like very much like the Pinball Brothers games historically. It's just like you can't put Alien on location and hope that will make money, because it will break when you turn your back on it, right? And hopefully that will improve over the next couple of games, and they will make some hardening fixes to Abba to make it more like reliable, so to speak, right? And but I definitely look forward to playing it some more. Hopefully somebody will get it here in our neighborhood. And the last game here is Avatar, right? And I cannot say more than I've been drooling over this game from day one, right? I'm just such a huge fan of the the layout, the rules, the artwork, the music, the call outs, the works, right? And at the end of the day, like Avatar, if somebody puts a gun to my head and says you need to buy one game from 2024 and you need to buy it now, that would be Avatar, like in a heartbeat. There's no other game that came out last year there's even close, right? And at the end of the day, I'm basing this on the, like, I played it in the UK during the UK Open. They had it as a show game there, and that was set up a little bit too easy. You kind of got really deep in it really quickly, and it was pretty long lines when people were kind of grinding on it. I also played it at Expo with the game designer and reached one of the wizard modes, and it was just magical, right? And it's just like this game really requires a lot of exploration, right? And there are so many like elements to the gameplay in it that I like with the shots that it kind of feels like a old school Bally Williams. I'm kind of coming back to that again, right? Where the upper playfield with all these like ramps and wireframes and all that stuff kind of reminds me of Judge Dredd a little bit, but the shots are kind of the other way. And I just think that's cool, right? And it's also a lot of like new kind of rules to the Eclipse jackpot that you kind of build up during the gameplay, and yeah, and it's just gorgeous, right? And it's the absolute best topper of 2024 on that super like LE, whatever they call it, collector's edition, right? That is just like, that's just like from a different level altogether, right? So they basically built like a full-on like heads-up display in like multi-layers, so you see Pandora in the back, and you have like cockpit rails within this like box they put on top, and they have this this hologram kind of reflection that they did in Pinball 2000 games, and it like constantly just like feeds you with information, and it's like and animations and status and stuff, and just like standing and watching that topper when someone else is playing is just amazing, right? And there's also like the backlash. I put the LE backlash in here as or the collector's edition. I don't know what they call them, but I mean, at the end of the day, that is just like so, it's just perfect, right? You have that Navi just staring at you. It's just like really good kind of pinball vibe all together, right? And I'm going to get an Avatar at one point. I'm just not in the position of taking in any new games at the moment, right? I need to sell my Mando and Venom. I need to grow tired of my CSI and Black Knight, and then I kind of have room. I have room and budget to get one, right? Because at the end of the day, I think if I get one, I'm probably gonna go after the collector's edition, and that is gonna, I'm gonna have to pay through my nose to get one, right? And that's the naked truth, right? And so thanks so much for hanging out and watching the Tiermaker live here on the channel. I'm gonna post this to YouTube as well, and so thank you folks for hanging out on YouTube and checking it out there. And if you have any questions or comments or want to praise or flame either the games or me, just shoot me a message down in the chat, and we'll hammer it out. So at the end of the day, super fun, and we'll talk to you soon. Just a little bit of a reminder. So next week we're gonna play the California State Championships on the channel. I'm going up to the Flipper Room, and I'm streaming both the main and women's Saturday and Sunday. So there's gonna be a lot of high stakes tournament play on the channel. We have a visitor from Italy coming in the main, Daniele Acchiari, and that is going to be absolutely stellar. The bracket is just a slaughterhouse, and it's going to be super fun. So check it out. All right, cheers.